Ladies and gentlemen, it's 7:30 p.m. This is the American Fork City Council for October the 10th of 2017. Our agenda has been noticed on the state's website as required by public law. We've also posted it conspicuously throughout the community. We will follow that agenda as outlined, copies of which are on the table in the center of the room if you'd like to follow along. Before we begin tonight, we'd like to recognize 4 members that are vying for city council. We'll be up in the general election on November the 7th, 2 weeks from today. No? 2.5 from today. Anyway, the bottom line is I'd like to recognize Stacy Carroll, Barbara Christiansen, Kyle Barrett, and Councilman Jeff Shorter, who have their names in for 2 council positions. Also, Councilman Bowen and Councilman Frost for the mayor's seat. We wish them all good luck and recognize their service and hope the best for all of them. We'd like to begin our meeting this evening by having a pledge of allegiance, followed by a prayer by Councilman Shelton, after which I will conduct a roll call. Would the audience please rise? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our Father in heaven, we are grateful for the opportunity that we have to be gathered together this evening in council meeting to be able to discuss the affairs of the city. We're thankful, Father, for the great opportunity and freedom which is ours to be able to live in a country and state and city where we are able to enjoy so many freedoms. We're thankful, Father, for the responsibility that is ours, that has been entrusted with us to be able to research and to be able to make decisions on behalf of others. We ask, Father, that such responsibility will not be taken lightly and that we may be able to feel of that responsibility on a regular basis and seek to do that which we feel is right. Father, we are very mindful of those around the world that are suffering many different tragedies and hardships, and particularly in our community as well. And we ask a special blessing, Father, that would help us to be inspired as to what actions we can take to look around and see what we can do to lighten those burdens of those around us and further create a more favorable community to be able to be a part of. And these things we ask and pray for in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Councilman Shelton. I will now conduct a roll call. Councilman Barnes.
Present.
Councilman Bowen.
Present.
Councilman Frost.
Here.
Councilman Shelton.
Here.
Councilman Shorter.
Here.
We have a quorum and can conduct the business of the community. I see several young men in the audience that are here in their scouting attire this evening, or those of you that are here for merit badge or for some advancement. I'd like you to come forward this time, stand in front of the microphone, identify yourself, tell us your troop number, your rank, and who your scout leader is, please. Come forward now. You can turn that microphone around so you face the audience, please.
My name's Corbin Lamont, and my scout leader is Brother Campbell.
What's your troop number?
820.
And what is your rank?
First class.
Second class.
Thank you.
I am Jensen Wilkerson of Troop 820, Scoutmaster Curtis Campbell, Assistant Hunsaker, Brother Hunsaker. I'm a life scout, and is that it?
Good enough, thank you.
My name's Kissin Wong, and troop number 820, and scout leader Brother Campbell.
Thank you.
I'm Carter Barlow. I'm from Troop 1137. I'm a Star Scout, and yeah.
I'm Benjamin Darrington, and I'm from Troop
Troop 820, and my scout leader is Brother Campbell, and I am a second class.
Thank you.
My name is Joel Stuckey. And I'm from Troop 820. My leader is Brother Campbell, and I don't know what rank I am.
Thank you.
My name's Eldon Calder. I'm from Troop 820. I'm a second class, and yeah.
Thanks. We wish you success as you go along scouting's trails. It's a fun experience. A lot of great things to learn and to try. We wish you well. When the time comes and you're a Life Scout and you're looking for an Eagle Scout project, we would ask you to look around your neighborhood, look around your ward, look around the school, look around the community, and come up with some project that will benefit your neighbors, your family, your school, and the community. We really appreciate the Eagle projects that go on in our community every year. We literally get thousands and thousands of hours spent for the betterment of our community, and we recognize each of you for that effort. Thank you very much for being with us this evening. It's now that time on our program. We set time aside every program, every council meeting to hear from the public. If any of the citizens present would like to make a comment to the mayor, the city council, or the senior staff, you may come to the microphone and make that comment at this time. Hearing no comments, we'll close the public comment portion of the meeting, and we'll listen to the city administrator give his report. Mr. Bunker.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a couple of items. This week is National Fire Safety Week, and our own fire department will be having a public safety open house tomorrow night from 6 o'clock to 8 p.m. And they will have some station tours, an apparatus display, go through some exit drills for fire safety, and they do have smoke detectors for citizens who are in need of one. So we appreciate the fire department and everything they do to help our community. And just one more item, the upper tank lid was poured. They poured all day and into the night to finish that pour, and so that's done. Now they will be doing the post-tensioning. They put cable through that concrete and start to tighten that up so that the tank lid has some rigidity there. But that's done and well on its way. Just wanted to report that. That's all.
Thanks for that report, Mr. Bunker. Now we'll get to city council reports concerning committee assignments. Would you start us off, please, Councilman Barnes?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a number of things. I'm going to go through these quickly in the interest of time. First ones relate to Parks and Recreation. They had a meeting on the 27th of last month. They're very pleased with what's going on with the projects that have been approved and started from the Park Tax Committee. Two of those are the pavilion up at Quail Cove, and the other one that they're about ready to work on are the pickleball courts. They've had a meeting and pre-construction meeting. Construction on that should start within the next week or so. Additionally, it's basketball season, and I'm not going to go through all that they sent me, but just know there's a lot of basketball starting up. Another one related to the park tax is a sculpture that will be put into the cemetery. That has been ordered. Staff is making preparations, and hopefully early in November, that one will be installed. Cemetery Committee met Monday of last week, finalized the Veterans Day program. Just a reminder, that will be held Saturday, November the 11th at 11 a.m. And again, we'll be in the junior high. We have a guest speaker coming from the National Guard. We have some music and some other things to honor the vets. And I think the Mary Kawakami speakers will also be there. So it'll be a wonderful meeting. Information will be posted on the city website, and it will be also in the upcoming next month newsletter. So if you need more information, that's on those. Chamber of Commerce did a grand opening today, a ribbon cutting for Quick Quack Car Wash. I said that pretty quick. Great little company. They built a great facility on a piece of land that I thought was a dump and would never have anything on it. If you know where that is, over by on State Street by the tire dealer there, they've got a wonderful facility. They do a great job, and they made pretty good work out, I think, pretty good work out of a piece of land that was really kind of a awkward size and shape and everything else. So they're up and running, and they'd like people to come down and get acquainted with them. And we're glad to have them. I think they'll be a good asset to the city. Chamber of Commerce is doing some other work. They've recently firmed up some board members and some other volunteers, and they're looking at some projects with the city related to still days and other things. And then this last one is not related to an assignment, but I drove by it, so I'm going to report on it. If you live in the neighborhood of 300 West and 400 North, you may have been without water a little while recently. And you may be without water tonight for a fairly long time. 4-inch pipe is broken, and I couldn't understand how many other pipes crisscross that one, but it's a maze of pipes right there in that area. So they've got their work cut out to get that repaired. Good sized crew down there working on that tonight, but just be aware that there may be some water shutoffs in and around that area, and they could go on for a number of hours. That's my report. Thank you.
Councilman Bowen.
If you're interested in the Scarecrow competition, email afscarecrow@gmail.com to find out how to enter for that. And that is my report, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Frost.
You know, I was able as well today to attend the Quick Quack. Gotta be real careful how you say that, and say that 10 times real fast. But car wash open house. We had royalty there, our Miss American Fork, one of her attendants. We had Quacko, the duck. And boy, I don't know how they pulled this one off, but they actually had Cosmo there as well. And I'm excited to have them. I can tell that Quick Quack is a community partner. And as a tradition would have it, when they open up a car wash, they have a charitable event just prior to it. And they presented a check for $5,000 to a sweet young lady and her 2 daughters, Shalay Hansen, who lost her husband in a tragic motorcycle accident in July. And I thought it was very fitting, and it was at times emotional today when they presented that check to her. So it was a great event. That's all I have to report, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Shelton.
Thanks, Mayor. Had the opportunity to attend a meeting where they discussed the Murdoch Connector. That's the road that's just north of the developmental center. Actually proposed to be a Highland Road. I think we're still trying to figure some of that out. But the good news is that they had a representative there from the school, the developmental center, who had mentioned that they're no longer going to be opposing that road, and they'll be supportive of it. We have Senator Kennedy and Dan Hemmert, who are going to run legislation to try to get the state out of the road business. And I think that's going to be great. The only thing they asked for is those that would like to see that road go through, email your support to your local state representative as they run that legislation. As that area comes around for development, I think there'll be a lot of discussion around that. It can be a great opportunity or a great hindrance to the future of the city up in that area. And so I think it would be wise for us to be very involved with what takes place after that. But I think the biggest priority is getting that road through, which will be 12 years in the making, I think is what they said right now. So hopefully we can all come together and start seeing some construction come springtime. Other than that, I have my dispatch meeting, which will be this Thursday. They are going to be voting on the Juab County and the Nephi City partnership. They are requesting to be coming in as district members. So if any of my fellow council members like, I can pass that on to them to read that agreement and let me know if there's any concerns to represent to that committee. Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Shorter, sir.
I had a Cosmo joke, but I'm going to leave that for another time. Since I'm not up in Salt Lake area. So anyway, we had to meet the candidates, and we want to appreciate. I really appreciate the Chamber of Commerce and also IHC for letting us come down there and have a chance to be videotaped so others can watch it and be down there. I asked Rob while his children were there, were they being punished at the city council debate? But anyway, he's a good dad. So we had that meeting, and I appreciate them doing that. We met. I introduced the symphony last night. Again, it's a great opportunity for families in American Fork. It's $5 for children, $8 for adults, and then just $25 for a family. And it's a great program. They do a great job. I'm impressed what kind of quality we have for a symphony in such a small city. And the other thing coming up, they're going to have a Christmas in the Valley on Friday, December 8th at 7 p.m. It's going to be at the American Fork Junior High School auditorium. And again, they have another one in February and April of next year when they celebrate the young people who are very talented. So just so you are aware of that. And there's a lot of other arts. So if you check the Timpanogos Arts Foundation, you'll find a lot of information about other programs and plays and other things that are going on with the arts. And they're using the park tax to great advantage. So that's all I have to report, Mayor.
Thanks for that report. For the mayor's report, I'll put a plug in for the Mary Kawakami speech contest. This is ongoing now. It is American based on your love of your community, your love of your country. And sign-up sheets are available at the library, online, or we have some at the City Hall if you'd care to pick them up at the admin building. This is a scholarship application. The winners will be, the first place is a $1,500 scholarship. The second place, I believe, is $500, and the third place is $200. And then each of the applicants, there's 15 more scholarships of $100 apiece to go with that. And as was mentioned by Mr. Barnes, those first and second place winners will speak at the Veterans Day program on November the 11th. And I will make those presentations on November the 4th, Saturday at the library in the 11 o'clock in the morning, make those presentations to those winners at that time. So encourage you if you are interested. This is an essay type of a contest, and you will be asked in the presentation to stand and to recite your essay in front of a board of judges. That's how we choose the first, second, and third place winners. So if you're interested in that, pick up an application, get it filled out. I think the timeline is coming to a close, and we'll move forward with that. Thank you. That's all I have to report. We'll now move on to the common consent agenda.
If I may, Mayor, I forgot one item.
Holy smokes.
With all those, I know it. It's hard to believe. 3 weeks from tonight is what? Boy Scouts, what's 3 weeks from tonight? Halloween, yes. Trunk or treat will be that afternoon. The Chamber of Commerce is sponsoring that. It'll be downtown. We've got another meeting to let people know of it, but I just want to have everybody get it on their calendar. So that's a great activity. The city participates in it, the Chamber of Commerce and businesses on Main Street.
I think it starts at 3 p.m., doesn't it?
I was hesitant to mention a time because I don't have it in front of me, but I think it is something like 3 to 5 or 3 to 6. I think you're right. We'll have it for sure.
It starts at First East and Main Street on both sides of the street and goes all the way west to Doug Smith and Olive Garden on the west end of Main Street. Many of those businesses on Main Street will have their doors open and have something for your youth. I know in front of our admin building at City Hall, the mayor and his spouse will be out there handing out a few goodies. So come by and see us and say hi. There are many merchants in our community that don't live on Main Street or are housed on Main Street, but they will have booths and other things set up on Main Street. And it's not uncommon to bring a fairly large bag because it will fill up quite rapidly. Thank you for that reminder, Kevin. Appreciate your help. We'd like to move on now to the common consent agenda. Our common consent agenda includes approval of the September 19th, 2017 work session minutes, approval of the September 26th, 2017 City Council minutes, and approval of a partial release for the performance guarantee bond in the amount of $111,676 for Easton Park Phase 1, located at 530 South, 860 East. Is there a motion to approve the common consent agenda as presented?
Mayor, I had just a few corrections I noticed to the minutes that I would like to ask that we get included in those before we approve them if we could.
Okay.
Thank you. On the 9/17/2017 work session minutes, on page, I believe it's page 8. Sorry, it's hard for me to see. I'm sorry, page 5. On page 5, line 38. This is talking about the pay issue that we've been talking about recently, the compression study. And, on line 38, if we could change that from what they were from what they wanted to, the text should be changed from what they wanted to, quote, what they were previously promised, end quote. I think the meaning there is different, and what we discussed there was more in line with what they were previously promised, is why we were looking at that. And then in our city council meeting minutes, which is the 9/26/2017 meeting minutes, the text of the actual motion.
What page are we on?
This is on page 6, lines 4, 5, and 6, for the city council meetings from 9/26/2017. The actual text of the motion, I don't believe, had the wording including the condition that there would be no further development pending study. That was my understanding of the exact text of the motion, was that we adopt the conditions of the Planning Commission. The reason that this is relevant is because the Planning Commission minutes that were posted up here were different than what was actually approved in the Planning Commission. And so our conversation was focused on inaccurate minutes, but the actual wording of the motion that was approved, my understanding was that we just adopted the conditions of the Planning Commission. And so I think it's important that we that our city council minutes accurately reflect that motion. So I would just ask that we strike the wording that says including condition all the way to pending further study, end quote. That we just strike that from that motion, because it was not part of the motion from my understanding and recollection. And then just one final correction. Also, this is
Before we move on there, Carlton, sorry, just taking a look at that. Is that
Yeah.
on line 38? Is that where you're at?
for the it's line 4, 5, and 6 from the
Okay,
9/26/20.
it's at the top then, because you had two motions.
Yeah,
so
the
I'm just trying to
first
clarify which
the
one.
first one was line 38. It was page 5, line 38.
Right.
That was the work session minutes.
No, I'm sorry. In that meeting, you had two motions, I think. No, or is it just one?
Oh, the motion that I'm talking about was the one for the development. You know, the I'm trying to think of the name of the development, but it was basically Just Green's development down there.
So you on page 5 of those minutes right now? Is that what you're at?
Page 6, I believe, lines 4, 5, and 6.
Okay, thank you.
Is that I don't know if you want to pull it. I guess Wendelin's not here, Vendelin, but otherwise we could put those up on the screen. But what I have down in my notes is that it was page 6, lines 4, 5, and 6 that included that motion, where we just needed to strike that wording to make it reflect what the motion actually was. And again, that wasn't my motion on that one. It was actually Councilman Shorter's motion. And then on page 8 of those same city council meeting minutes from 9/26. On page 8, line 21, this was an amendment that I made, and the word says, what the minutes currently say is that had not been reviewed by city council, and again, I don't believe I said that, and I would just ask that those lines be stricken. My amendment was that we not include in the fees any new fees or any changed fees, and that we only adopt the fee reductions. But somehow in the minutes it got in there that my motion was not any fees that had not been reviewed by the city council, and I don't recall saying that or making that part of my amendment. So I would ask that we strike the words, quote, that had not been reviewed by the city council on page 8, line 21. And with those changes, I would make a motion to accept the common consent agenda.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Bowen. Do I hear a second?
I'm okay with the changes that you want to make to yours. I just didn't know if Jeff had any input, 'cause that's his motion, so I'd love to hear his input.
Well, yeah, my motion I think just stands as I read it. I intend it to be that way. You know, we may want to review and rehear the issue later on, but my motion I want to stay as it was as I spoke the motion at the time. That's what I intended to have happen. So.
Yeah, exactly. And I believe the wording that you read just said subject to the conditions of the planning commission meeting. I don't believe you inserted that text that got inserted in the minutes in your motion.
Well, didn't the planning commission have the two different
We will have a
options?
future meeting. We've discussed this in our work session on what was the intent of the planning commission and what was the report from the planning commission. Mr. Olson gave us a very thorough report. We will have this on for council action at a future meeting. So we can correct these minutes tonight, that's fine, but in knowing again that this will be back before the council for further action in a future meeting.
When you
Thank you,
say it'll
Mayor.
be back, what will be back? The discussion? Not the minutes, but the discussion
The
itself.
discussion, and we can clarify those planning commission minutes at that time.
I think just leave them as they are.
So Carlton, I'm happy to make a second with an amendment to leave Jeff's the same way it is, but amend your suggestions on the portions that you wanted to have corrected.
Okay.
You okay with that amendment?
I'm okay with the amendment. I'll probably vote against it because I don't believe that Jeff inserted those words into his motion. I don't want to approve minutes that are
Okay.
inaccurate, but
So am I okay to second that amendment motion?
absolutely,
Vote on it?
yes,
Okay.
absolutely.
I have a motion by Councilman Bowen and seconded by Councilman Shelton. Any questions on this motion for the common consent agenda?
This is an all or none vote, correct?
Yes,
The
sir.
3 items.
3 items.
I want to vote no on the 26th because I'm too confused with all of this discussion and I want to see it in writing, but I would vote for the other 2. So if possible, I would request that the 26th be taken off and the other 2, but I don't know if that's possible. I'm asking questions.
Or you could make a motion to table approval of the September 26th city council.
That's, I guess, what I'm asking, maybe motion.
I would second that motion.
I have a motion then. I got 2 motions on the table. We'll take them in order.
I think his was to amend my motion further, and I would accept that amendment to remove approval of the September 26th, to table approval of the September 26th, 2017
Okay, then
city
our common
council.
consent agenda will be only the September 19th work session minutes and the partial release of a performance guarantee bond for Easton Park. Is that correct? Okay.
Yes,
And
sir.
I have a motion then by Councilman Barnes, seconded by Councilman Bowen. Any questions on this revised motion? Hearing none, I will take a voice vote. Again, this is for the November 19th work session minutes and the bond release for the Easton Park Estates in $111,000. Councilman Barnes,
Aye.
Councilman Bowen,
Aye.
Councilman Frost,
Aye.
Councilman Shelton,
Aye.
Councilman Shorter.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries, and we will rework those 26 September minutes and have those on a future agenda.
Okay, and then just correct those work session notes.
Say again?
Just the change we'd approved for the work session once there was one change there.
All right. Okay. Very good. Thank you. We're down to action items. Action item number 1, review and action on city payments September 19th, 2017 to October 3rd of 2017, and approval of purchase requests over $25,000.
Mayor, I'll make the motion to approve the city payments of September 19th and October 3rd, 2017, and approve the purchase requests that were presented to us over $25,000.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Shelton. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Barnes. Any questions on this motion?
Just a comment, this one includes some union dues payments, which we typically make, but which I disagree with. That I think those should come directly from the employees rather than go through the city, and for the FOP. And then also it includes some CDBG money, which the council knows I've voted in the past against approving those contracts, and also vote against this funding because it includes that.
Any further questions or discussions on the city bills for payment? Hearing none, I will take a voice vote. Councilman Barnes.
Aye.
Councilman Bowen.
Nay.
Councilman Frost.
Aye.
Councilman Shelton.
Aye.
Councilman Shorter.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Action item number 2. Review and action on an agreement for the Mark Edward Smith annexation consisting of 12.713 acres located in the vicinity of 500 South and 570 West. Any questions on the Mark Edward Smith annexation?
I had a question, Mayor. Is Mr. Smith here by chance? You're representing him. I noticed there was just a little bit of confusion about the zoning that was being requested. It was mentioned in the original annexation request that he wanted to do a higher density, but that was never specified. But then it appears that the request is still valid. I just wanted to confirm that the applicant is okay with this annexation request as is, which is the PR3 zone.
Go ahead, sir.
Sorry about that. Yes, there's some discussion items that I wanted to maybe review to clarify and understand that continuing forward tonight still doesn't ratify things. We still have to kind of go complete all the checklist items, and I just want to make some things on record about those items and get some feedback.
It'll come back. It'll come back to the council. My understanding is for a site plan approval, and if there's a requested zoning change before that, that could also come before us. But I just I wanted to make sure that your application is still valid. So if it's okay with the mayor, I'd love to hear your comments.
Sure. We'll get my notes. So in going forward with this, you know, in any kind of development, you look at maybe what the highest and best use is, and you know, quite interested in that we're in a close proximity to the front runner station, and in that location, that area of the city, you know, it's still pretty rural in many ways. Adjacent to us on the east side is an abandoned, for the lack of a better word, sewer treatment plant that's become a collection of broken down items. To the south, there's a larger residential property. To the north is another collection of a boneyard, I guess would be probably the appropriate word. And so we were speculating that maybe we could get 8 units per acre with a townhome approach, and we never really had the opportunity to have that discussion. Through maybe a little bit of a communication breakdown, we missed the planning commission meeting, and as a result, we're trying to kind of play catch up and some other things. So, yeah, we understand that the long range plan calls out for PR3. We were just hoping that we could have some dialogue as to the prospects of doing some other type of density.
The paperwork that's before us this evening is to accept the annexation and to place it in the PR3 zone. If you would like to have this tabled and give you an opportunity to visit back with the planning commission again and make your presentation to them and have them reconsider it, we can do that. If that's your decision tonight, sir.
Well, is it still possible to have that discussion about a zone change and moving this thing forward?
We'll move it forward tonight with the PR3 zone.
Okay.
If you want to table this, then you go back and start the process again at a different zone.
Right. Okay.
But keep in mind, You've got a lot of issues on the property. You mentioned the sewer treatment plant, some other issues, high groundwater. There's a lot of things that don't normally work well with density that you're dealing with on this parcel of property. So,
Well, part of the reason with the density is that we could combine and cluster and have some other open spaces that would work with, 8 units per acre. That's still fairly conservative when it comes to townhomes. You can see the townhomes pack in at a much higher rate, up to 24 units per acre with a functional townhome development. So
but you have to look at the surrounding zones as well.
Sure.
So it's not a
Sure.
spot zone. It has to be
Yeah.
conducive with the land use plan. And so I would suggest you ask us to table this evening, and you go back to the planning commission and work out the issues.
Okay. There's a couple other questions I had as well. That with the action items, there was a trailway that zigzags through the property. I was told that can be adjusted, and we have a concept plan that we had presented based upon the PR3. The other aspect was the actual density of the property is, or the acreage is 7.75 with the record. There's some boundary issues that have surfaced with fences versus record. Some of that which would require the city to join in with a boundary line agreement. In addition to that, on item 5, you're requiring the conveyance of an 84-foot wide right-of-way, which would eat up a significant amount of property. So even if we went forward with the 3 units per acre, we start at the potential of 23, and with the effects of the boundary line agreement and the conveyance deed, it would drop us down to just roughly 7.12 acres, which would calculate out at 21 lots, a loss of 2 units. And that would, if we could get qualified for the 23 units based upon the record description, we would be prepared to move forward with the application and the zoning of the PR3.
You're asking us questions that need to be resolved with the planning commission before they come to the city council.
I see.
Yeah, because those would be part of the agreement.
Yeah. Right.
The annexation agreement.
There are certain takings that always occur at annexation, because right now you're 1 dwelling unit per 5 acres, sir.
Yeah, I understand
When
that.
you come into the city, then you get greater density, but there's also the takings by the city.
Right.
And I think it's something you need to work out with the planning commission, where their comfort level lies and what you're willing to do. We can discuss with our city engineer relative to the boundary line agreement between the city and the property owner. And we'll look at, have it surveyed and see where the existing fence is and see what impact it has on both parties.
Sure.
Okay? Then is it your desire to put this on hold and table this at this time until such time as you can resolve with the planning commission?
I would be prepared to move forward with the zoning of 3.3 units an acre PRD.
PR3?
PR3, yeah.
That's what you want us to do tonight then, sir?
Right. I recognize that there's some give and take with all these things, and I'm partly responsible for that communication error. And where, on these types of things, timing is really important to keep moving forward. I've kind of felt like it was a little bit of a long shot, but I think there's some unique circumstances with the surrounding properties, and I hope that as we engage in this process, that you guys will revisit the 23 units per acre as we move forward.
Okay.
You're also okay with that utility easement then as well, then?
What
we're approving tonight is the whole agreement, not just the PR3.
Right. Well, the utility easement, which item are you talking about? You mean the trailway?
The section 5 that you referred to, you were saying that you had some concern.
Well, that's a
with.
right-of-way conveyance of
Right.
an 84-foot wide right-of-way. My understanding of that would be to take this, because there's no defined center line, monument line or anything. We would take the
Try and impact both property owners on both sides of the street the same.
Yeah,
It
we'd
would be
midline
84 feet from
the
you.
asphalt and then offset 42 feet. And so with that, we've calculated, I've actually had the surveyor calculate what that is.
Okay.
And so the other one was with the trailway. As long as we can modify that to work with our site plan. I know that we gave that to Adam I don't know if he wants to present it or not, but certainly we would just have some interior roads and an extension of our open space to connect with the park system and have choways in there. One of the things that we wanted to look at doing, I realize it's a staff issue with engineering, but eliminate the sidewalk off of one side of the road and combine choways through the park and connect the two cul-de-sacs together. So I look forward to sharing some of that with you.
I'm sure you've got some great ideas, and I'm sure the planning commission will be happy to look at them.
Okay,
sir.
thank you.
Thank you. Then is there a motion to approve the Mark Edwards Smith annexation as presented this evening?
Mayor, I'd move to approve the agreement for the Mark Edwards Smith annexation consisting of 12.713 acres located in the vicinity of 500 South, 570 West.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Shorter. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Shelton. Any discussion on this motion? Hearing none, I will ask for a voice vote on the Mark Edwards Smith annexation agreement. Councilman Barnes.
Aye.
Councilman Bowen.
Aye.
Councilman Frost.
Aye.
Councilman Shelton.
Aye.
Councilman Shorter.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 3, review and action on an ordinance amending section 17.9 of the city code regarding performance guarantees. Do you have enough that you're comfortable with this, Casey, or do you want to withdraw this until we redo it and put it into a council work session again?
Going forward, we can
Okay.
discuss this.
Did you understand the discussion about performance guarantees and bonds relative to letters of credit?
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't.
Casey, you'll keep going through just real quick and let's hit those sections and just make sure. I would like just a little refresher on all those points and make sure we're all on the same page as far as what the amendment would be for the different sections as they were requested.
Okay, if you want specific questions, if I go through it, I'm just gonna read it.
Okay,
I mean,
well, I
they're
guess-
highlighted there for you. Do you see that
Well-
on there, that you've got the amendments, the cross-outs and the additions?
I think her comments relative to the landscaping and the improvements
Sure.
in the public right-of-way is different than if it's public improvements on private property.
Well, yeah, and I
don't
think
it
that's
was
been
never the city's intent to be bonding for improvements on private property.
Agreed, and I think that's addressed in the very first, the application of this chapter in 17.9.100. The provisions of this chapter shall be applicable wherever the terms of the development code require the posting of a performance guarantee to ensure the timely construction of public or essential common improvements. Then you'll notice throughout the document it talks about required improvements. And so I think it's covered in there in the definition. Now, if you want us to go through and in front of all of those instead of put required and public landscaping and infrastructure, we can do that.
I don't think so, Counselor. I think we understand that. Okay?
And then if you guys want to go through it and say what your next question is.
Deposits.
I have just one, and that related to the comment about surety bonds. The mayor addressed not taking
Letters of credit.
letters of credit from the banks, but I don't think we discussed prior to this the surety bond issue. And I think they are requesting that we take surety bonds. I haven't looked at this, so I apologize, but I thought we had decided we would not take surety bonds. So that's, in my mind, that's not been decided. So I've got a problem.
Okay.
There was quite a bit of, during the public hearing, there was quite a bit of input, and I think maybe considering all of that in this meeting, just kind of on the fly, might not be the best. Maybe it would be better to go back and kind of listen to that public input, rework the wording as necessary, and then move forward with it. Just a suggestion.
Would that be your motion, Councilman?
I'd like to hear Councilman Shelton's input first.
Yeah, I'd like to have greater discussion. I know that we had and got burnt once upon a letter of credit, but I'd hate to take away an opportunity down the road. And I would hope that we could have a discussion about how to make sure that doesn't happen again. Maybe we take letters of credit and, as a staff, track that a little bit different than what we had to make sure we know. And maybe we require it for a longer period of time. I don't know, but I'd like to at least investigate that.
The last 3 churches that we built in American Fork was Jacobson Construction. I talked to them and I says, you know the trouble we've had before. It ain't going to happen again. Give me $20,000 made out to bank to the American Fork City, and when all those improvements done, I'll give you your check back. And Jacobson Construction didn't flinch. He says, okay, we understand the predicament we put you in last time. It won't happen again. And so that's how it's been done. Is it right? Is it legal? Am I overstepping my bounds? Everybody's got a different opinion on that, but we've not been stuck a second time.
Yeah, I'm okay with the public comment. You know, it sounded like maybe you felt there was some duplicity in it, and maybe just having it looked at again through legal and staff, and seeing and bringing this back. I think it's important, and I don't think that it's necessarily something that we need to act in haste about. I think a couple weeks would be something that we could live with, personally. So if you've made the motion, did you make a motion?
Not yet. I had just another comment too. Also on the letters of credit. It seems like we could word this in such a way that it addresses the mayor's concern. I think you have a valid concern, Mayor, where the letter of credit expired before the time that the city needed it. I recognize there's more people too than just chapels that might want to do a letter of credit though for their development, and I hate to be so restrictive. I'm thinking if I was a developer, you know, someone else that's not a Jacobson but is maybe smaller, you know, I can see where they would want a letter of credit, and if they're credit worthy and there's a financial institution willing to issue that, it seems like we might want to keep that an option. I wonder if we could work this wording to where it says that the letter of credit has to be valid for 1 year from the completion of construction, because that would cover our durability, our 1 year durability period.
Most
also.
individuals go in for letters of credit are based upon their ability to carry credit, and that changes daily, folks. The market changes, those investors change, and it's here today and gone tomorrow. And for you to have a bank say you're going to guarantee that letter of credit for a year, I don't know any bank that's willing to do that based upon the individual creditor.
I would share the same concern as the mayor, as the staff is. You know, the problem with the letter of credit is it's only as good as their credit, and if they file bankruptcy in that year period or whatever time period, if you do a 2-year, I mean, ultimately it is the council's decision, so if you guys want to go forward with it, you can. That would just be some of our, I guess, caution to you is that would be our concern, is we don't think it would be as good as collateral or security, however you want to say it, as the other avenues we put in place.
If it's the bank issuing the letter of credit for a specified period of time, it's the bank that's on the line, not the lender, correct? I mean, the bank's basically saying we guarantee credit of X amount for X period of time. Now, if the banks, as the mayor indicated, is unwilling to do a prolonged period of time, you know, that's the bank's call, and it wouldn't be an issue for the city because the bank would never issue that letter of credit. That would be between then the bank and the developer at that point. But if a bank is giving the city a letter of credit for a valid amount of time and for a valid amount, I don't see why the city would have a problem with that.
I've actually had an experience where the bank defaulted. First West went out of business. The city that I worked for before was left hanging. And, you know, that can happen as well. And as we tried to track down and make good on that bond, it was very difficult. It took a lawsuit.
Well, and I guess that's the thing I have. We're talking how much years of development and how many development projects have we had, and we haven't had a problem. Then we have 1 or 2 problems, and I have a problem sometimes taking away everything based off of a couple bad issues. I mean, that's risk, right? And we're just talking about how do we want to mitigate our risk and what procedures. So I think it'd be good to have a better open discussion about it. I really appreciate the mayor doing the public comment as requested in the work session, because I really think it's good to get that input back from those who are going to be most affected by this legislation. So with that, I'll make a motion to table this to our next work session. We can further discuss this as a council.
I'll second that motion.
I have a motion by Councilman Shelton, seconded by Councilman Bowen, to put this on the next work session agenda for discussion. And I would ask our friends from the Home Builders Association to make those in the area that are willing to come and attend that. We'll hear some public comment at that work session, and we'll move forward from there.
That
With-
work session would be a week from today, then? Is
One
that
week
correct?
from today,
At
yes, sir.
3:30. 3:30 a week from
3:30
today.
in the
Just wanna make
afternoon
sure
at the
they
admin
understand
building
that.
across the road, and if that gets too full, we'll open the chambers here and hear all of the home builders that have been taken advantage of by the big old bad city. I have a motion and a second. I will ask for a voice vote to postpone or to table the performance guarantee bond amendments. I will call for a voice vote. Councilman Barnes.
Aye.
Councilman Bowen. Aye. Councilman Frost.
Aye.
Councilman Shelton.
Aye.
Councilman Shorter.
Nay. I've always wanted to say that. So.
That was one that wasn't too damaging, right?
Thank you. Item 4, review and action on a resolution amending the written procedures governing electronic meetings. Basically, what this is doing for us, we've always had the ability for the council to have electronic meetings. There are other committees and boards within the city that need to have that same opportunity so they can conduct their business in an open and transparent manner. So this ordinance has been rewritten in such a way that it outlines the procedures for them to conduct a electronic meeting for their committees or boards. Any questions on this item?
Mayor, I'd move to approve the resolution amending the written procedures governing electronic meetings.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Frost. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Shorter? Yes. Thank you. Any questions on this one?
I just have one question for Mr. Bunker and George and whoever else. Is this perfectly doable, and is it okay with staff? Is it something that we can do? I don't want to pass something if we can't do it.
George can come up, but
You're gonna make him take the blame.
well, it is something that we can do. I mean, obviously, recording our meetings and having those publicly available is required, and so it is something that we can handle. It's just allowing someone to come in, call in electronically. So we're okay.
Comment. I read through this and I think it looks pretty good. I like that it says a quorum is required in person still. I like that it says that this is the exception rather than the rule, but there are those times where people can't make it. I like also that it emphasizes that public meetings are intended to be an opportunity for people that have an interest in witnessing firsthand to be able to do that. I think it's fine though too, like people might be viewing this meeting since we're streaming it. I think that's great, and this becomes really commonplace in the business setting, but I think this ordinance, this change is well written, and I'm supportive.
Hearing that, I have a motion and a second. I will call for a voice vote approving the written procedures for electronic meetings ordinance. Councilman Barnes.
Aye.
Councilman Bowen. Aye. Councilman Frost.
Aye.
Councilman Shelton.
Aye.
Councilman Shorter.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. You did well, George. Thank you. Item 5, review and action on a bus use indemnity agreement between American Fork City and the Provo School District. This again is a carry-on from what we talked about in our work session last week. We are putting things in order in a timely manner this year to work with the American Fork Canyon Marathon, Half Marathon, and the American Fork Hospital. And they have followed on with what Utah Valley Hospital does with the marathon down Provo Canyon. So we're using the same organizations that has worked with IHC for years to bring this thing to pass in a timely manner.
Mayor, I'd move to approve the bus use indemnity agreement between the city and Provo School District.
Have a motion by Councilman Shorter. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilman Frost. Any questions on this motion?
I would just comment, this is an agreement between the city and Provo School District.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, great, thanks.
I will ask for a voice vote concerning the bus use indemnity agreement with Provo School District. Councilman Barnes.
Aye.
Councilman Bowen.
Aye.
Councilman Frost.
Aye.
Councilman Shelton.
Aye.
Councilman Shorter.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. Item 6, review and action on a resolution approving entering into an interlocal agreement with Provo School District for the use of buses for the AF Canyon Run Against Cancer.
Mayor, I would move to approve a resolution allowing the city to enter into an interlocal agreement with Provo School District for the use of buses for the AF Canyon Run Against Cancer event.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Frost. Do I hear a second? Seconded by Councilman Barnes. Any questions on this motion?
Just a comment, Mayor, on this one. I'm employed by Intermountain Healthcare, and although this agreement isn't with Intermountain, they own Utah Valley Hospital and AF Hospital, and Utah Valley Hospital is the sponsor that this background talks about receiving payment from in the amount of $6,450. So to avoid the appearance of a possible conflict of interest, I will go ahead and abstain on this vote.
Thank you for that explanation. Bottom line of this agreement is that if the IHC doesn't pay the city will not rent the buses from Provo School District. That's what it boils down to. And we get the money before we contract with the buses. So there's where we sit. So I appreciate you bringing that up, and I will allow your abstention on that item. I'll call for a voice vote. Councilman Barnes.
Aye.
Councilman Bowen.
Abstain.
Councilman Frost.
Aye.
Councilman Shelton.
Aye.
Councilman Shorter.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion carries. We're now down to item number 7, review and action on an inter-agreement between American Fork City and Utah Valley Hospital.
Mayor, I'd move to approve the agreement between American Fork City and Utah Valley Hospital.
Thank you for that motion, Councilman Shorter. Is there a second? Second. Seconded by Councilman Barnes. Any questions on this motion?
Again, due to my employment with Intermountain Healthcare and Utah Valley Hospital being the sponsor of this, I would like to publicly declare a possible conflict of interest. We'll abstain on this vote. I would like to express my support, though, for the AF Canyon Run Against Cancer event, which I think is a great event.
Thank you. I'll call for a voice vote on the agreement with Utah Valley Hospital. Councilman Barnes.
Aye.
Councilman Bowen.
Abstain.
Councilman Frost.
Aye.
Councilman Shelton.
Aye.
Councilman Shorter.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item number 8 referred to a closed session, and there is no need to have a closed session this evening, so I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Mayor.
Motion by Councilman Shorter. Is there a second? Second by Councilman Frost. Any questions on this motion? Hearing none, I will call for a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? What time did I say we'd be through tonight, Terry Lynn? 8:30. Amen and hallelujah. We are adjourned.